Hi, man.
Cruz.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You sure?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Oh, you know what I hate the most?
What's up?
Being a student forever, permanently.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. I love it. And we have Ciera.
Yeah. That was the worst.
That was.
Yeah.
It was like your voice wanted to go in and out, even though you didn't want it to, and it still did.
See, it's been fine for the last hour, and now it's like middle fingers.
Exactly. Oh my.
So.
Stay in school, kids. Hopefully you don't have her. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I bet you're a fine teacher. So far, what I've heard.
All the confidence in your voice there really is reassuring me.
It's the mixer.
Oh, okay.
It's actually Jaime. He's changing it
Oh,
on the
yeah,
iPad.
that's me.
But dang. So you said, let me think. You said you've been teaching for 5 years or almost 5 years?
I will finish my 5th year of teaching in May.
Dang. That is crazy. Only for the fact that I can't see myself as a teacher, even though I can teach. Like, yeah, you want to learn something cool? I'll show you.
Yeah.
But I can't see myself as a teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, see,
'Cause it's intimidating. It's like it's a whole nother set of fear that I never really know if I can overcome.
Huh. And see, and that's completely the opposite for me.
Well, that's good because you're the teacher.
Yeah. Cross my fingers. But like, yeah, I can get up there in front of kids and I can just like wing it all day. Like, I don't, I plan. But
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I
like,
totally believe that now.
we get off on tangents sometimes. Like, this kid one day took me down the dark matter train, and I was like, let's go, yay! And so we just talked about dark matter
And
for
these are
like 20
third
minutes.
graders?
Yup.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah, he's up there.
Okay.
Like, this is not your average third
So
grader.
already excelling. That's
But
a
yeah.
crazy subject
Right?
too.
Yeah, well, we're talking about normal matter, and he was like, so how does dark matter play into this? And I was like, bro.
Gold star for the day.
I am. You were talking to a great person to know about dark matter. Like, it was just, like, that kid won that day. Like, you get gold stars all day long.
Wow.
And so, I just, yeah. But, like, then you tell me I have to talk in front of my peers or present to my peers, and I'm like,
Is it because of the age difference? Like,
no. Because, like, the oldest teacher in my building is, like, 45.
okay, let me rephrase that. Is it more because they're kids?
I honestly, yeah, I think so. Like, just because, yeah, they're kids, and then I have to just be in front of my peers.
Yeah.
I, like, freak out. But I hide it pretty well, I suppose, because everybody's like, oh, you do? You have a fear of this? You have a fear of getting up and teaching us stuff? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, well, you do it pretty well.
Huh.
But,
wow.
yeah, it's just like this whole other mental block I have.
Interesting. That's cool. It wasn't too long ago we were talking about, like, I don't know if it's necessarily fears. I think we were writing out so let me start over. Sorry. So before we started doing all the episodes, right? We sat down. We went to IHOP actually, and we're just hanging out talking like what we wanted to talk about, that kind of stuff. And we were like, well, what are some really cool things that we've talked about before? And one of them was like fears and stuff like that, and like why that certain things like that happens. And it's crazy some of the things that people don't want to do because it's a subconscious fear of theirs, and most of them are like, I don't know why I'm afraid of that. I just am for some reason.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, I have an irrational fear of my food getting stuck in a vending machine. Yeah. I mean, I know that's a totally different level. But like
No, explain. What do you mean?
Like, when you put your money in and it gets stuck in a vending machine, like, it doesn't fall.
It's
like,
a good thing she never went to our school, huh?
I have an irrational, like, fear. I put my money in, I'm like, oh my God, what if my food gets stuck? Because I'm a fat kid on the inside. And starting to be on the outside, too. Let's be honest.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but no.
As
like,
you go, like, you're like,
yeah, I'm
sorry,
like, I
shouldn't have
gotta
mentioned
tuck
that.
this over me now. Hide it. I shouldn't have worn horizontal stripes. What a bad decision. But no, like you said, those subconscious fears are really like.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a really specific one, too.
Right?
When did you notice that? How did you notice that?
Oh, well, I don't like get things from vending machines.
It's like, so I must have a fear about it?
No, like I have in the past, but like I avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
if there's an opportunity for someone else to do it for me, like I'll even just like be like, here, go do this for me, because I'm like, I freak out. I get like anxiety about it. Yeah, like, right?
Oh, interesting.
Also falling down and breaking all my teeth out.
Oh,
that's
ow,
a terrible fear.
but that's
yeah,
just-
right. I know, like that's a more
My teeth hurt now.
realistic irrational fear, other than getting my food
I don't know
caught in
anybody
a
who would.
vending machine.
Good point.
Like,
and I don't know anybody
that
who would
is
be like,
planet
oh yeah, if I
crazy.
fall and break my teeth, oh well.
Right?
Like,
Ew.
that hurts. Now I'm gonna be licking my teeth this entire time. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks to you. Jaime, do you have an irrational fear like that?
Not that I can think of.
Oh, we'll find it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I have to be, like you said, subconsciously, but
Yeah.
I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I can, like, right off the top of my head at least is, and even kind of now, mostly when I was younger, when you are in a basement and you go up the stairs, but the light switch is downstairs,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and you just feel that darkness.
I used to have a fear of, darkness, but I got so used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking, like, especially coming home late, like when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I would, feel my way down the hallway and stuff like that and just
You're like,
get used to
okay.
it. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, and now you do it so often too.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
I can navigate my house
Oh,
without
yeah.
even looking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Because
still.
I think it has a big deal of like a big thing to do with how creepy the house is
Oh, yeah.
on its own.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like even in full day, like even our basement now, like
Oh yeah.
it's like it's unfinished first off, which makes it creepy and echoey and cold and spider webs and ghosts. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
sorry.
And the portal to hell.
And the portal hell. I mean furnace. That's what I meant. But it's just like I think the biggest thing in this house that really gets me to on that level is that I walk up those stairs and they creak weird. So it creaks when I put my weight on it, and me thinking like, okay, I'm putting my weight on it. It creaks. It's wood. Okay, got it. And then I go to the next two, and then I hear the first one creak again
Because it
it's
like decompresses
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
But then it's immediately like, there's no weight on that. Why is it creaking? It shouldn't be creaking.
There's someone behind me. Yeah. I get
Oh
that.
my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Fears. That's a whole nother episode.
Right. I'll be back.
I'll be back. But no, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to look into and to like kind of think like, why are you afraid of certain things? Like talking to your peers. I mean, and it can be broken down into multiple ways where it's just like, maybe it's not just talking to my peers, maybe it's just talking in general to people who are maybe like similar like knowledge, or they've all had similar experiences, or they all come from like a similar background. For example, you're all teachers and you all need to do this because you're benefiting each other, and group mentality, and I can
Yeah.
go on forever.
Or fear of being judged because they are your peers.
Yeah, that's a
fear
big one
of-
that I see a lot of people doing. We so at school, so two things you mentioned which remind me of school. One, our vending machine used to break all the time, so you would have hated it.
I would have had to starve to death, essentially.
I mean, we had a cool little cafeteria that you could have got, but the vending machine,
Yeah, no.
Nope. But like, we noticed doing a lot of presentations, and I used to notice it a lot more at school. For me, since this is the third degree of work done, right? That a lot of people are like, I don't want to go up there and talk. It's like, I can't do this. There's no way. Like, just present your work, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it's nothing. You just show them, like, here's what I did. Here's how I did it. Here's the problems I ran into. Done. How'd you solve it? Either we're currently working on that still, we don't quite know, or this is how we fixed it, right?
Right.
Fixed it? Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds weird.
Yeah. Speaking of, once in college when I was in speech class, you had to go give a speech.
Yeah.
And I went up there, gave my speech, and I was like walking back to my seat, and the guy that sat behind me was like, are you having an allergic reaction to your necklace? Because like I flush when that happens. So just my whole chest, up my neck, my face is just blotchy red. And I was like, excellent. Like,
So it wasn't an allergic reaction. It was just that you were
it was
nervous.
how nervous I was. But then I could get up and present math problems all day long.
the
And
students?
none of that. No, like actually to my peers. That's the one thing that I am like, pick me to do this, to talk to you guys.
Really?
Yeah. But anything else, I'm like, no.
So is math your favorite subject to teach, or in general?
Yes. It's favorite thing to teach, favorite thing to do, favorite thing to yeah. It's my favorite.
Huh. Why?
Well,
Uh-oh.
it clicked for me in a class I took in college. It was a problem-solving class, and it was just these elaborate word problems we had to work on for a week. We had to solve the problem. We had to write a paper about the problem, about how we solved it, what we did.
Like your steps and
Yeah, like our steps and why we did what we did. If we didn't get it right the first try, what we did wrong, it was just like analyzing that problem solving, that real in-depth, like critical thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that's the basis of word problems is like, okay, you're not seeing numbers, it's being spelled out for you.
And like, one of the problems was this CD case. You had 100 CDs in the case. 50 were blue, 50 were black. How can you move the CDs, only moving them one move at a time, so that they alternate using the least amount of moves? Or then there was the one, the locker doors. Yep, if the first kid who came in opened all the even lockers, and then the second kid that came in opened all the odd lockers, and then the third kid shut all the prime numbers, and like that, what would the 47th kid do? Whatever.
They're assuming that kids
and
are
so
thinking
it was
that hard.
Yeah, no, that was the problem. But and so it was just that really made it click for me, because like in school, when I was in school, I sucked at math. Still don't know my multiplication tables, quite honestly. Like, I have to think about some of them.
Which is kind of funny, because I was going to ask you too, like, do you have to teach your kids tricks, or do they have tricks that you're like, oh, that's pretty cool? Because nowadays it's what's the style of math called now? Or is there a certain style you have to teach?
So there's not a style. People often confuse that with Common Core. So
Yeah, okay,
like
that's what I've heard.
But it's not a style of teaching. That is a set of standards that if I am a third grader in Colorado, I can move to Kentucky and be learning the same thing in third grade.
Oh, okay.
Because before, it's every state is in charge of the curriculums and what you learn in what grade.
Oh.
And yeah, that's how it is before. So like the Colorado standards used to say, let's just say you learn multiplication in fourth grade.
Uh-huh.
And then I moved to California and I'm in third grade, but we're learning multiplication in third grade. Like, I am not ready for that yet.
Oh.
So that's all Common Core is that it's a set of standards, a common set of core standards for the subjects.
And that's nationwide.
Yes. And it's, yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Makes sense.
And
No, it totally does, because especially not being in the teaching field, I was just like, oh, they're teaching, what was it called? New math originally? Like, oh, it's new math. What do you mean? Like in The Incredibles, they're like, no, math is math, like that kind of thing. So I was assuming this was the next.
yeah. Well, like within
Step of
Common
that?
Core, like there are definitely changes to
Yeah.
what you learn and when you learn it. And yeah, like it's not teaching new math, it's teaching new algorithms to help children learn better. Instead of just rote memorization, like this is how you multiply, end of discussion. It's the why and the how. If I had learned to do math the way I teach it now, I would have excelled in math in elementary school.
Huh.
It is an easy way for my brain to work. Like making groups of 10, making groups of 5. Like if I had learned that when I was adding, 7 plus 9 to take 1 away from the 7, give it to the 9 so that I have 10 plus 6, 16. Like it's just so easy for me to visualize that.
So is that a basis of Common Core? Like that's how it works and how it kind of teaches you to make it simpler?
Again,
Or is that just...
that's not quite like the Common Core. Again, that's just the set of standards. But then we're just discovering these new algorithms to help kids think about it different ways. Because some kids, it's so much easier to, just show them this is what multiplication means, groups of things. This is how you do it, and you're done. But other kids, you have to be like, okay, 7 is really 2 plus 5. So if I'm trying to multiply 7 times 9, I can do 5 times 9 and 2 times 9, and then add those two together. And I mean, it sounds complicated, but some kids have to break it down like that.
Doesn't sound complicated at all, because that's already how I do math.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
I just figured it out. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then just went with it, but didn't know why.
Yeah, but for those
Wow.
other kids who their brain isn't cognitively ready for that, they don't know to break it down like that until
just see the
someone
numbers,
shows
they're-
them. Yeah.
Intimidated by
Yeah,
it.
exactly. They just freeze. They have that block.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that just blew my mind, dude.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, and I know this has been floating around on Facebook, and every time I see it, I just get so upset. And it's like, it's that 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication problem. And on the right, the one that says new math or Common Core math, whatever it says, she breaks it down into a box where she draws an array. She breaks it down into, let's just say it's 25 times 32.
Oh, yes, I've
she does
seen this.
20 plus 5, and on the top 20 plus 5, and she draws the array, and then 30 plus 2, and then 20 times 30, and she puts it in the box. And the other guy just does it his memorized way, you know, 1's column, 10's column, you know, multiplies it like that, and then goes and like washes his car or makes a cup of coffee while she's still doing it. And I'm like, number one, she is literally explaining every single step. You didn't say anything. You just did it. And number two, she is teaching a way to do it. If you practice it like that, it will be just as fast. I can solve an array model in the exact same amount of time I can solve a stacked 2-digit multiplication problem. Like, it's just giving kids more opportunities to let them do the work the way their brain sees best.
And that, I think, is where a lot of people, students and parents and teachers too, we get stuck in that there's only one way to do it. You have to do it the way, because that's how I was taught.
Yes.
That kind of route.
Yes.
But my mom's an OT, and so I've been learning and seeing a lot of things, like when I go stop by her work and I'll see how she interacts with the kids and stuff like that. And there's like so many different ways that a kid's brain can work and function correctly. Well, correctly is however someone defines it, I guess. But that's wow.
Yeah. Like I said, if I had learned math this way when I was in school, I wouldn't have hated it until I got to, high school.
Yeah. Till you're a cocky teenager.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Dang.
And so, it's just like, I think still curriculums move a little too fast. Because like I only teach like doubling. Let's talk about that method for a second. So that's 6 times 9. I can break 6 down into 2 groups of 3. So 3 times 9 and 3 times 9 is 27 plus 27, But I only teach that for like a day. And this is the problem.
it?
They get a brief exposure.
Whoa.
And then 4 lessons later, here's doubling again. It's this spiral curriculum, and I'm not the biggest fan of spiral curriculums, because again, it's just like touch, touch, touch,
And you say
touch,
so.
and then it comes back around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what you mean by spiral.
That's what I mean
Gotcha.
by
So
spiral.
you like hit it, and then eventually you'll
Come
back
to
and hit it one
and
more
then
time.
Hit it again.
or
and then-
however
yeah.
many.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's still not my favorite. I still would rather teach like, this is our fraction unit. Every lesson we are going to learn about fractions.
Like a chunk of
Yes.
it rather than just a little piece.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't. So it's always been like that?
In my years of teaching, yes.
Okay.
It's been these spiraled curriculums. And I mean, the research says that that's what works, but just like in the kind of school I'm in, maybe with my
Yeah.
demographic, these kids need more exposure to it, or especially younger kids. Like I can see that for a 5th grade classroom,
Yeah.
or
Because
upper.
they've already touched on it
Yeah,
before up
yeah.
to this point. Yeah.
And that's what they keep trying to drill home to us as well. They've touched on it before. You have got to touch on it again. If you don't touch on it now, you might miss it next time. Like that
Yeah.
kind of.
And then it leads into fear. Like, okay, now I'm scared. Now I have to do this, but I'm freaking out because I'm not getting it, and I don't want to ask because they're going to go so fast.
Yeah.
And then it just spirals out of control.
It compounds. Yeah, it spirals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's funny because I can't remember who I was talking to about this. It might have been you, Jaime.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to you about a lot
It's
of
true.
stuff.
It's true.
But it was that that method or that question was like, okay, here is this test. This is going to judge you on how smart you are or how capable you are of doing certain things, right? And everybody gets it. So you're like, this kid here aced it, didn't miss a single problem. Kid B is like, could have done better, and then kid C just straight up didn't even put his name on it. Which, judging by that look.
the literal bane of my existence.
But
On the top of their papers, I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I write
no, keep going.
in all capital letters, "Who are you?" Question mark, question mark, question mark, and I hang it on my board. And I'm like, if someone does not go pick that up, I'm gonna rip it up and throw it away, and everybody's gonna retake the test. Like I lose my mind. Okay, I'm sorry
is
to
it in
interrupt
red
you.
pen?
No, I don't use red because it strikes fear when a child gets their paper back and it's covered in red.
Fair enough.
I use orange, purple,
Which
green,
is super
blue.
close.
Anything. I very rarely grade in red.
But you do though.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, like, it's honestly, I just pick one out of my bag. So the kids are used to seeing every color.
Okay.
So
it's just a color
Yeah.
rather than like, oh, if it's red, then it means red is dead. Dang. Well, that's cool. And that's one of those subconscious things too that is like, you got to learn this or else you're not going to get it, and then you're not going to be ready for 4th grade, and then, oh crap, I'm going to 4th grade, but I never touched on that, so now I'm stressing out about it even though we're going to go over it again anyway. Kind of thing. So, oh wow, that's interesting. Wow, there's a lot of interesting things you brought up already.
yeah. and then like you saying that too, like my colleague just came into my room this morning, like while we're getting ready, because we have a math test tomorrow, and she was like, God, we didn't spend enough time on the subtraction. And I was like, you're right. We spent 1 day on subtraction. But that's the thing. We shouldn't have to be teaching subtraction. We're in 3rd grade. That's a 1st and 2nd grade skill. But with the spiral curriculum, sometimes you miss it. And you miss it every time. Because, again, we're in a school with chronic absences.
Oh, dang.
Chronic
And is that because of the demographic that
It's
you have?
the demographic. Yeah, it's the demographic.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a little bit of everything, of course.
Of course, yeah, and it's just, you know, they don't value education. They don't see the value in education. They, you know, oh, I woke up late. Well, I guess we won't roll until 10. You know, that kind of stuff.
Okay, brings up an excellent question I wanted to ask you. So, when you say the value of education there, is it necessarily education as a whole, or is it traditional education, as in getting up and going to school? Because what I'm thinking about right now is one of our teachers that was teaching us, he had so many good points that he hit on and taught us. He taught us a bunch of cool little tricks, like especially when designing games, like creating the illusion of choice, where the player feels like, I have all these options. I can take any path, and the world will change depending on my path. When in actuality, we're like, okay, you can pick anything you are, but you're gonna end up here no matter what, right? One thing that he brought up, and I keep remembering these as we do our podcast, but was the biggest university on the planet, and it's free, is YouTube.
Yeah.
You can learn and find anything from anyone on there. How do you think? Like, does stuff like that affect you, like your kids? Like, do they tell you like, that's not how I saw it, or like maybe not necessarily taught it, or like, hey, I learned this cool thing, or like, does that how much does that factor into you noticing them learning, or like, I found this cool trick before?
As a 3rd grade teacher, not so much. I mean, because they're on YouTube just to simply watch other children play games,
Which
blows my mind.
pretty much what we do, except they're just not kids.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
well, and I'm sure they watch you guys play games too. Or, you know, unbox toys, things like that. Like, that's their go-to on YouTube. But, like, I use that as a teaching tool constantly.
YouTube?
Yeah.
Really?
A child will ask me, what's this? I don't know. Let's look it up. I teach them the power of that you have this at your fingertips. That I am not the knower of everything. Because in education recently, you know, I remember in school that my teacher was the know-all, end-all.
That's how
That
it
is
was
it.
showed to us.
Right.
Like, well, did you ask your teacher? You're
And-
like, yeah, but
And no, and now I say, I don't know, all the time. All the time. I don't know. Let's find out.
yeah,
That's a
dang.
great thing for you to go home and look up. That's what I tell them all the time. That's a great thing for you to look up.
Damn. Yeah, so
But-
he was right then.
I can see how it would kind of be tougher as you got older. But again, that's something I encourage, because the parents go, oh, this new math, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, teach them the way you know. Watch videos
Because
on
it
it.
won't hurt knowing
It
multiple ways to
won't
do it.
hurt. Yeah, and that's what I tell them all the time. I mean, I learned to knit via YouTube. I learned that because I can knit.
That's cool. And actually, recently I've used it multiple times in, like, I won't say dire situations, because I wasn't dying.
Right,
but, like,
but-
for example, our furnace went out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, never worked on the furnace before, but I know what I can do to find it, figure it out.
Yeah.
I tore the thing apart, figured out, okay, what everything looked like, what it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know there's a model
Yeah.
number somewhere. You can Google it, because Google, holy crap. First off, can you imagine if we had all of this stuff when we were doing all this stuff? which that kind of dates me now because
Yeah,
that was
right.
what our parents were saying before.
I was gonna say. Right?
But
I had to look it up in an encyclopedia.
right, or what was the punch cards called?
Dewey Decimal.
Dewey Decimal. Yeah, thank you. I think I've used that like twice in my entire life, if that.
Yeah.
Right. But like I was like, okay. I got into the house. I'm like, all right, it is freezing cold in here. I'm like, let's look at the thermostat. My roommate had turned it up to like the highest we've ever had it. I'm like, no, something's wrong.
broken, yeah.
Looked at it, found the model number, Googled it, found videos on YouTube. Like, yeah, this is what I found out on mine, which was a similar, not the same, but similar.
Yeah.
And then you can use deductive reasoning to be like, okay, similar part, same thing. And I fixed it.
Yeah.
And it took what, it's like $75 total instead
Yeah.
of calling a service guy to
Repairman.
come out whenever, charge you $300-400. And I did it myself, and it took with driving time, it took maybe 2 hours.
Oh.
That's because I couldn't find the part right away.
Yeah.
But that place is amazing, and I'm constantly learning things. Like even on my lunch breaks, like especially recently, I've been like telling him like on future episodes we're gonna do, we want to do challenges and stuff like that, and have people come in that are like good at a certain aspect, and be like, all right, let's make these recipes, but you can only use 2 ingredients. For example, chocolate cake. And I was telling him earlier, I was like, super simple, because 1 ingredient is an egg, and you can break it down into so many different things and do different things with it that it'll affect the chocolate you use. I was like, dang. And I'm like, that's cool. It's awesome. And it is seriously like the biggest university, because you can learn anything. And on top of that, if you know something that you couldn't find yourself, but you end up solving it by doing step A through whatever, and you record it and put it on there yourself, like, holy crap. Like, we ran into a multitude of problems when we were designing our game.
Yeah.
But that's part of the design.
Part of the course. Yep.
Yeah. And so we were finding each problem, like, okay, what's the problem? The problem is he's making this level. I was like, perfect, that's in this game engine. This guy here is making a model, like a truck, for example. He's making a truck, right? It's like, cool, the level's done. Let me see your truck. Gives me the truck, put it in the game. The game engine's like, bleh. I'm like, okay, why didn't you like that? Like talking to the game engine.
right.
All right, trying to figure it out. Okay, finally we figured out why he exported it incorrectly. We took the steps to find it, right? And then we import it in finally, and it goes in, and it says it's there, but we can't see it. We're like, okay, now why can't we see it? So we're like, okay, is the mesh working? Yes. Okay, next step. Okay, try to scale it up. We do it like, make it 1,000 times bigger. It's this big. We're like,
Oh my gosh.
oh, it's puny. Okay, that's why we can't see it, 'cause it's the size of a freaking molecule.
Right.
Right. So then we took the steps to figure out, okay, why is this not working now? Because both computer programs right now say that they're being scaled in meters.
Right.
Right. Because it's just a common language. That likes meters. This likes meters. We imported it in. It's still this big. We're like, why? So we found out that the grid is wrong. So even though both are talking in meters, this one is like each square is worth 10 meters
Oh
to
yeah.
this,
So it
and
was a
this one is,
decimeter or a
yeah,
decameter, and
it was
compared to the
puny.
meters.
So
Yeah.
we did that, and that was one of the things we talked about. Like, you know what we should do? Because one of our teachers was like, when you come up and present everything you've done, what you got to, what your problems you faced, but do one teaching point. It was always one teaching point. You remember that? And so a lot of it was like, this is what we did. Here's our game. Check it out. Doing all this. And we would go into like, here's the problems we ran into. And then we would immediately flow into the teaching point. Like, we ran into this, and this. And you can see a lot of the people in there going like,
oh God, that was it.
like, I did the same thing. Like, oh my gosh. And so we're like, this is how we figured it out. And they're like, holy crap, you guys figured it, you like solved it. Like, yep, here's how. And then we break down the steps, and we would do it briefly during the presentation.
Yeah,
But like, if you want to know or you have questions, just ask us, because this problem is awful. It shouldn't even happen, but here's how you fix it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you use that as a tool.
Oh yeah, all the time.
It's an amazing tool.
All the time. Oh my gosh. So we just did state research. That was our writing project. So they had to research a state. And so,
Geez, that takes me back.
right though, I still remember I had Massachusetts when I was in 4th grade.
Why do you, never mind.
Right?
Continue.
Yeah, no, like, because that stuck in my brain and I had to do
awesome.
it. But, so like my example is Colorado. And so we're always talking, for every one of my examples, I was like, oh, well, there's Red Rocks. And again, my kids don't get to experience that. They're like, we don't know what you're talking about, lady. I'm like, oh, it's this natural amphitheater. Look, here's pictures. I pull up Google, boom, shows them all the pictures of it. And it's just like, such an incredible tool, especially for kids who don't have anything, who don't have resources. Their parents don't take them to the library. You know, they don't have
Or
anything.
can't.
Can't take them to the library because they're working. Don't take them to the library because they don't care. You know, like, I try to give them as much access as I can to the tools that they have.
And wow, I like the way you worded that. And it's not even just the fact that you are allowing them to get access. You're giving them the tools and the know-how to be like, okay, when I'm not here, when you move on to your next school or your next grade or whatever, is like, you know how to find this. So, wow, you're like, I don't even know how to word it. It's more of like you're teaching them in multiple ways at the same time, even though you're focusing on that one problem at that instant.
So, in the teaching world, we have a term for that. It's a 21st century teacher.
Love it.
Coined, yeah. So it's just like we have to teach them 21st century skills.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, our world has changed so rapidly just since we've been in school.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just
Yeah.
taking
And I
off.
mean, we would be, I consider us like the planet, like society as the planet, being super far behind than what we should be automatically.
Yeah.
But by being adaptable and, like you're saying, like, what did you say, 21st century teacher?
21st century teacher, 21st century student, 21st century learner.
learning it in what is available to us, because we did what we had to do with what we had.
Yeah.
Our parents did the same thing with what they had, and it makes a lot of sense, especially being this age now compared to being a teenager. You're like, well, why don't you know that? Like, I think my parents both say two similar subjects or topics every time, and it's like my mom, when I'm doing something crazy or like tech related, she goes, I still don't believe I'm your mother, like, kind of thing. It was just funny. But then my dad just like, dude, like, I am super interested in what your math is, but you passed me in like third grade.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's accurate.
And there was one time where I was stressing out, and I was like trying to, like, I can't solve this problem. And I think I was already in calc by then. And I was like, can't figure this out. My dad's like, well, let me look at it. I'm like, sure, yeah, if you want to. Like, just extra eyes in general. And he took the book, and I took a break, whatever. He just kept reading and just trying to learn as much as he possibly could. But that's how he knows how to learn, is like sit there and just go. Whether I'm like, okay, cool. So nowadays I'm like, okay, what's your problem with said and said thing? Because I'm usually IT when I go home. Like, the way my dad explains it too, he's like, he usually walks home when we go, fix please.
Yep.
Turn over the computer, right? But it's like a lot of things. Like, I just bought him a Google Home because I'm trying to make the house. I love smart homes and the ability that it gives people, and like the ease of access for normal everyday things.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just making it so that it's everyday tasks that he's used to doing normally will make it even easier.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to upgrade the house by starting with the Google Home and stuff. So I was like teaching him, like, all right, this is it. Well, what is it? I'm like, it's a speaker, microphone, assistant, thingamajig. He's like, what can I do with it? I'm like, what do you want to do with it? I don't, like, he was like, to him, it just looks like it's just a little
Yeah,
thing.
it's just another knick-knack.
Right? And so it's just funny to watch him. Even recently, when he talks to it, he asks, like, he goes, hey, and talks to it and goes, what is this, and that, and it'll respond. But it's like base level. He's like asking, just like just trivia now at this point. Like, there's, Dad, do you like this? Like, yeah. It's like, okay, it can hook up to
lights.
It can hook up to your lights. It'll hook up to the TV because it's a smart TV. It'll hook up to your doorbell. It's like, if someone rings that door, it goes to your phone, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, someone rings that doorbell, you can tell Google and say, hey, put that on my TV, and it'll pull the screen up on the TV for you without you having to press a button. He goes, oh, cool. My mom goes, why do we need that?
Right, yeah, like
I was like,
Mom, quit crashing my party.
Because it's making things 21st century, and we're utilizing what we have available to us, even though sometimes it's super creepy.
Yeah, no,
But
that's
so. Do you have I don't know if you've seen it or have a problem or even come across it. Do you guys have a problem with screen time?
Yes, I have a huge problem with screen time. Like, just, I love the 21st century aspect of our world, but also the attention span of the children in my room is shot. They can't do anything for an extended period of time. Nothing. Because their screen time has been so elevated, and they are getting so much sensory information from that iPad, from that screen, whatever they're
Phone,
looking at.
computer, anything.
Phone,
Yeah.
anything. They cannot stay focused on something for longer than when I get them from the summer.
Oh, jeez.
7 minutes tops is the time those children can focus on one single activity. Like, read your book for 7 minutes.
Wow. So
Work on this problem for 7 minutes.
So what do you have to adapt to, or what do you?
We build stamina. So I draw a big thermostat. When we used to fundraise, you'd see that thermostat and you'd color it in every time you got 10 more cans.
Yeah. Okay.
We start with a thermostat, and
that's attention
zero.
span?
Yep. And so for like reading, this is how I set up my reading groups at the beginning of the year, is I say, okay, guys, we are going to practice what it looks like to independently read for 1 minute. And I show them, this is what it looks like. The book is open. My eyes are in the book. They are going back and forth. I am turning pages when I'm finished. Okay, you show me. And we all sit there and we practice for 10 seconds. We open our books. We look at it. We pretend. And I say, this is what it doesn't look like. I put the book on my head and I lay down and I put my feet up and all that. And I talk to my friend and I do that. And I say, okay, show me what it doesn't look like. And they show me what it doesn't look like and they get crazy. And that's fun. And then I say, okay, now we're going to practice for 1 minute. You have to do it right for 1 minute. I set the timer for 1 minute. I tell them to go. They go find a spot. They read for 1 minute. If I see one kid off task, I stop the timer. Okay, everybody come back. What did you see that was right? What did you see that wasn't right? And we talk about it. Okay, let's try again. Get 1 minute. They go do it for a minute. They go do it for a minute. We come back, we celebrate. Yay! We can read independently for 1 minute. Color up the 1 minute. Okay, guys. Ready? We're going to try 3 minutes.
Ooh.
We're going to try 3 minutes. You ready?
Skip the 2.
Yep.
I only know 2. That's my only number. Just kidding.
And so we do that. So that is it, day 1. That is it. We stop independent reading at 3 minutes, day 1. Day 2, we come back. Okay, let's try that 3 minutes again. Let's see if we still got it from yesterday.
So you hit the previous record.
Okay, you ready for 5 minutes? We go out and try it for 5 minutes and they lose it. Okay, we come back. All right, I'm going to take a minute off. We're going to try it just for 4 this time.
Huh.
And I have to do that until we can get to 20 minutes by ourselves.
Whoa.
That is the first 3 weeks of school. Just setting that one
Sounds
expectation.
daunting.
And when you walk into a classroom, though, you can tell the teachers that do that and the teachers that don't.
Why? Like what? Or the
There's chaos.
Really?
There's chaos.
Because of the attention spans lost?
Well, yeah, and they didn't learn. They didn't build a stamina.
Whoa.
Back up. We do it for writing, same thing. So writing,
works.
first day, I put a big timer on the board. And I say, I want you to write. I don't care about what. I don't care if you write the same word 4,000 times on your paper. I want you to write. And when you cannot simply raise your hand to write one more word, I want you to look at that board and write that time on your paper.
Just give me those eyes again, dude. I'm scared.
I know. You got me in teacher mode again.
No, that's
Sorry.
okay.
Teacher eyes.
This is exactly what we want, though.
Yeah.
Because why would we know
Yeah.
any of this?
And so that's it. And like just with everything. I mean, math, it's a little different because math is so interactive. And again, that's my strong suit. And so like, I go bananas in math. Like I could teach math all day, every day, no matter what it is, I could do it. And so we don't build stamina in math because math is just so different anyway. Like I don't know any teacher that builds some stamina in math, but
It's because it's not just necessarily attention span. It's
Yeah.
also that both sides of the brain, creative and
Right.
like that scientific, like
Yeah.
it's using
reasoning
both. Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of, so that Let's see. So when we were learning about all of this stuff, it was like, okay, there's the two sides of the brain. There's the really creative side, and then there's the really
Logical.
the logical, like scientific side, right? Do you think with the way all of our tech is nowadays that it's affecting that?
Oh, guaranteed. Yes.
So really, what I'm trying to ask you is this: when you're teaching and you see all of this, is it adding an unknown like third type of area, or is it just like, you know what I mean, like making one side better than the other, like, you know what I mean? Because the attention span thing is crazy. I was like, that makes total sense now that you say it.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I've never really thought of it like that, like creating a whole nother like lobe of your brain, not creating, but you know, like forming another side to your brain. But no, that's like really interesting to think of. Like, we do things to still like cross that left-right side barrier when we're working and stuff. And so, no, that's something I've never really thought of before. So that's like interesting. Like, I'm gonna have to look into that more, but it does affect them. Like, the screen time affects them so bad.
It makes sense too, because I mean, my mom sees the same thing during her sessions. It's like, no, it's like there's a lot of screen time going on, and I tell her, it's like, yeah, I have a lot of screen time too, but it's multiple different things. It's not just me watching videos, which a lot of time it is.
Yeah.
Can't get away from those cats, you know. But on top of it too, I'm like, my field is like, it's all based on computers, 3D modeling. Right. It's designing games and levels, and there's now with all this art editing and stuff like that. Like, it's a lot of screen time, and I can feel myself going, okay, I can feel it. Take a break. Look outside, like just stare outside. Doesn't even matter if it's just anything there, just outside. Yeah. Right. That's not. And so when you're doing your things like your what'd you say, thermostat, timer, stuff like that. When you hit certain mile markers, do they get a prize? It's just yay celebration, like just verbal?
Yeah. Because we can't extrinsically motivate forever. You know, because there's just things you have to do in life. End of discussion. I tell them all the time, there are 100 things I don't want to do today, but I have to do them. If I don't do them, I won't have my job.
True. That's
and you know,
hilarious.
like, that's one of the things I kind of pride myself on, is that I am 100% real with my kids every day. Like, I don't ever lie to them.
Yeah.
I tell them how it is. Like, I straight up tell them sometimes, like, yo, if I did not do my work as much as you don't do your work, I would get fired. You would be fired from 3rd grade if that was a thing. And they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah. What would happen if mom didn't go to work? What if mom went to work and sat there at the table with her feet up? What would happen to mom? Well, mom would lose her job. Yeah. Mom would lose her job. Why do you think you get to do that here? I don't know. Okay, then fix it. Be better. And that's it. And I mean, in 3rd grade, it takes several times to tell them that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, they need to know it. They need to know that, like, this is real life. And education is the way out of their situation. Like, I tell that to my kids all the time. Like, my kids, oh my God. You know, they have seen more things in their 8 years of life than I will ever see in my entire life. Ever. Like, they come with so much trauma. So I tell them, you know, the way out of that is to get an education here. To get an education.
That, and it's just nowadays that we get information instantly. And we were talking before about it, saying like, the world's so much more of a dangerous place. I'm like, well, no, it's always been dangerous, but the fact that we have access to that information
to the danger
immediately, it feels way worse. And yeah, okay, it could be more dangerous in certain times, in certain areas, sure, yeah. But the fact that it doesn't matter what it is, where it is, boom, our phone, bing. By the way, Amber Alert. Like, the second it happens, like, holy crap. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Oh, no, yeah.
Like, it's both bad and good. But we get it so instant that it changes our perspective on just
everything.
So much stuff. And it's scary. And how does he word it? He words it, instant gratification takes too long.
Yeah.
Because now we're at that point where, like, we're used to this instantness. And now when it even takes, like, a second or two longer than it should be, like, come on. I would constantly see myself doing that. I'm like, stop. It's doing its thing. In all reality, like, it is really insanely awesome.
That's my kids. Their Chromebook doesn't work for 3 seconds. They're like, it's not working. I'm like,
click,
yo,
click, 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 click. Yeah.
let it think. Because I see that spinning wheel, up there on the tab.
Yeah, you're like,
And they're just
working.
like, it's thinking. Relax. And then it like happens, and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, you gotta relax, child.
That's funny. And a lot of what you said too is similar to when I was talking to you about my thesis paper.
Yeah.
And gaming and stuff like that. Just being like, making it, changing the perspective of like what they're learning into something that they like or they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like that was the whole topic of the paper, was adding gaming into education and therapy. But a lot of people, when I talk to and try to get information, especially my teacher, because at first, my teacher, who was my thesis teacher, was just like, interesting. I don't know anything about this subject, but it sounds really cool. And then after it was done, I think I might have told you too, after it was done, she took the paper and she loved it. Absolutely loved it. And she's like, you need to get this published.
Oh, yeah.
Talk
You
to me
did
about
tell me
getting it
that.
published, right?
Yeah.
She took it into a faculty meeting and broke it down. And she said the room was exactly divided in half. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah. Funny thing is that on that other half too, like the half that was like, that's an amazing idea, and the other half that wasn't, it was a mix of between game teachers and the other teachers. Like, even some of the game teachers like, no, that's an awful.
not gonna
I was
work.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay, that's cool. And that's, it started that conversation, getting it going. And like, when I was trying to explain it in its simplest form, it's not like bringing games necessarily, like a whole game system into the classroom, or
Right.
even making a certain thing like, we're going to go play a game now. It's getting them into that mentality like, this is fun. I want to do this. And if I do this correctly, we get rewarded. Not necessarily a physical thing, like you said, but party time. Let's celebrate. We made it to 3 minutes.
Yep.
And that goes along a lot of illusion of
Yeah.
like our choice and stuff.
So we just got a program at our school. Some other schools have been using it. It's called ST Math. And it is this little penguin, Gigi. Her objective is to get from this side of the screen to this side of the screen. That is it. In the middle of the screen, you have to play puzzles to figure it out. So it has no words. It has no sound other than a successful ding and a not successful ding. And that's it. One of them is like, so you have this big fat green dragon, and he's sitting there, and then there's little pies on the counter. And then there's pies on the dragon body. So it's like, okay, like I have no idea what to do. You have to click until you figure it out. Oh, okay, I have to add more pies to the conveyor belt to equal the pies on the dragon. So the pies go in, the dragon's happy, it burns the boxes down, Gigi gets to go from this side to this side.
Because it's blocking her from moving.
Because it's blocking her path. Or like things will be up in the air and you have to take the right things away or they fall and they block Gigi's path. And the kids go bananas when we get to get on Gigi. There is nothing more fun than getting on Gigi. And it's incredible because then we're doing math, like just our regular math lesson, we're doing our math test. They're like, this was on Gigi. This was on Gigi.
And they
so
relate
they know
it to
how to
something
do
that
it.
they already know. Wow.
So they know how to do it. They were successful with it, and it transfers. That's the key. You can make all the education games you want. If there's no transfer, it was for nothing. So it's just like, I've seen the success with that, and it's a game, but it's like, it is no Fortnite. It is no Ark. It is no, anything like that. But every
It's not
one of
just
my children.
mindless, pick up the gun and kill the opponent.
It's no Minecraft. It's simply.
Which I think that falls into a weird category anyway. 'cause
Oh yeah, no,
it's
that's a completely
super
learning
cool and
game.
creative.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
punch
not
that
a-
tree, see
it's-
what happens.
It's not a Roblox. That's more of a
Yeah.
catch-all for everything.
Dang.
But that's what all my kids play. And so, yeah, like I don't know one child that doesn't enjoy getting on that program, even though it's math. And I
Right.
have several kids that hate math.
And that sounds even more like advanced than what we used to have. Like even in our computer
yeah.
lab, we used to have those games used to
Oregon
be
Trail,
the
Kicks.
coolest. But it was like
Uh-huh.
at that point in time, it was like that was all it can handle, really.
Right.
Let
Well,
alone
and-
anything more creative like Gigi.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I want to play it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Sometimes I just sit and I just watch kids. I'm like, And they like kind of look at me because, you know, these kids have this intrinsic fear of, oh my God, the teacher's watching me. I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just haven't seen this game yet. I just want to watch you play.
And they have such a creative, already is naturally creative mindset, like problem solve. And they just like, oh, this, and that. You're like, yes, but why? How did you get to that point?
And that's what I ask them. As soon as they raise their hand, I don't know what to do. I ask, and even if it's a game I've seen before, I'm like, okay, what have you tried? What have you clicked on?
Right.
Have you clicked on this yet? Have you clicked on this? Have you tried this? No. Oh, try it.
Right.
Call me back in 10 minutes. Try it. Click everything. See ya.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. My girlfriend's middle son is constantly getting praise, saying like his mind is amazing, and all three of them are geniuses in their own way. Like they all like not specific areas, but like excel like super well in certain spots. He had a thing that was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a couple of questions, and he had to just answer them. And I think it might have been one of those Facebook quizzes actually that she was asking them.
Yeah.
But it broke down to like, what do you need to walk? You're like, gravity. Boom. I was like, whoa. Like most people would be like feet, legs.
Yeah. Muscles.
You're like, no, gravity. It was like, what do you use to, what was the other question? It was like, what do you use to talk with? He was a brain.
What a
It
thinker.
was like some deep, like,
What a thinker.
deep thoughts. Hi, man.
Yeah, deep thoughts.
And deep thoughts.
But it was just crazy, and I can't even remember all. I'm probably even messing up.
Butchering it, yeah.
The answers were amazing, and it's just like gravity and a brain. I'm like, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, and he's in kindergarten. I want to say kindergarten. Yeah. Pretty sure he's kindergarten.
Yeah.
But it was amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks.
Yeah.
I liked your insight.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being on. Hopefully we'll have you again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. All day, every day. Like this. If I could do this all day, every day, I'd be here.
We have a ton of other topics. We'll hit you up and see what you want. But
yes.
that was
great. I learned a lot today.
There was so much that I just couldn't even like.
Right.
I didn't even have a response. So.
Oh, if I could plug one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't send your kid to kindergarten when they're 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, please don't.
Why?
Their brains aren't ready. I see it in 3rd grade. They're just like so little. Don't send them. Because you said kindergarten. He's in kindergarten. I hope he's old enough. Because they changed the cutoff limit in Colorado.
He is 6.
So yay!
yeah.
Oh, he's an old kindergartner. Yay! We love that. So that's just the other thing. They're just not developmentally ready, and we keep moving that age back and back and back. And they keep coming younger and younger and younger.
Oh.
And it's like the kindergarten standards. There are standards for kindergarten. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? Yeah. And then kindergarten isn't even required in Colorado. Like, you don't have to send your kid to kindergarten in Colorado. You can send them as long as they're old enough to be in 1st grade, which is 6. They can go. And then they have no basis for anything because we teach them so many things in kinder. But it's just like, that's bananas. So that's just one thing I wanted to say because a lot of people don't know that. They're like, oh, you can go to school now. Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
Huh.
Peace, ciao.
Now I don't know if he's in 1st or kindergarten. Now you're getting me real confused, but that's okay. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's a phone call. You got it.
Right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but this was incredible. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Hi, man. That was successful.
That was great.
Gotta say yes. Yes.
There you go.